Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. Sort of about time I shared some thoughts while I have a drive, getting away from the home desk. Nothing in this realm ever got accomplished without people first thinking that something other than what we are used to or conventionally led to believe could be somehow different. In fact, horrible situations arise when people refuse to think and just acquiesce to their physical or mental enslavement. We can see, for example, in places like North Korea, how easy it is for entire nations and generations to be enslaved to the point that they will self-police themselves. They will live in fear of a system that insists people obey the rules, follow the culture, and snitch on each other and ridicule each other, and for what? For their own protection, to protect themselves. And for many people who are raised in a culture such as the one that we kind of know about in South Korea, will simply perpetuate it by acquiescing to that fear. The fear of consequences, the fear of death, and of course they use the fear of relatives being tortured and captured, tortured, imprisoned, etc., to prevent those who might think outside the box from taking any action. And so at some point, people, whoever we are, whatever our responsibilities, we have to take a stance against those things that we know are wrong. And my personal stance, and one that I'm fortunate enough to have, living in a somewhat free world, is to try and shake others awake from this mental enslavement that we have. Our enslavement in the West isn't necessarily a physical one, unless of course you are imprisoned for something. And I'm lucky enough to live in a country that has a relatively free lifestyle, although of course, like anywhere else, it has a fairly rigid culture, and there are things that you can or cannot do, rules and regulations that apply to most people, apart from the privileged few. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Damn, I was supposed to go to the market. I knew there was a reason for coming out the way I did. Alright, I'll just turn around. And so, yeah, you know, you see this idea that we're living on a spinning globe is a mind trap that attempts to oh dear, how it's very difficult to put into words, isn't it? But we are told of this physical realm being a certain way, a spinning ball, a globe, but that's all in the mind, and we become convinced that it's our physical reality. So the point I'm trying to make is that, yeah, we are all victims of, even if we are physically free, or even if we are physically imprisoned, chained down, put in a cell, what is the one thing that we can be free in? That is the mind. So we end up living in a society in which we believe we are free, and we are free to roam, go to other countries with a passport, if you can get the visa in your passport, and what have you. But the point is that it is up to us as individuals whether we will acquiesce to having our mind enslaved, regardless of whether our body is enslaved. Now, that might be some kind of enslavement that we may have had little choice in, such as being bound to a wheelchair, or born without limbs, or without the ability to speak, or the ability to hear, or born into an oppressive regime. And look, again, going back at looking at North Korea, look at what can be done, what can be carried out on an entire population. Mass mind control, to the extent that they will dob each other in and self-police themselves because of their dear leader and the system that has been put in place by the brokers of that social experiment, which is often what any society is. They're all different social experiments. What is the limit to which we can oppress the people? How much can we enslave them? To what extent can people or their minds be enslaved? Because, again, go back to North Korea. What would it take? What would it take to free the population from their mental enslavement? The death of their dear leader. That would be it. But of course, the rules of the game, when it comes to countries going to war, etc., and, you know, apparently invading countries to in the name of democracy, then you know, they're not going to go and kill the leader of that oppressive regime, are they? They're going to play by the rules of the chess game, the Game of Thrones, if you like, where the pawns are the populace, put up as cannon fodder. and whoever wins or loses depends on the strategies employed by the leaders, who remain unaffected by the whole thing. So that is why I speak out. This is why I do not care about the ridicule. It's why all you trolls that come along when want to talk about the possibilities of the mechanics of this physical realm and the real dimensions of this realm. This is why all you do when you come along and poo-poo ideas, thoughts, hypothesis about what's up there, what the Earth's place in the universe is, and our place on it or in it. All you're doing is just demonstrating that you are enslaved. You are enslaved in a mindset that doesn't allow you to think or question beyond what we are told is known to science, when the reality is that there is a lot that is known to science and that is not applied to hypothesis and ideas about how it all works. There is this insistence on sticking to the old school ways of thinking about it. And scientific exploration is continually proving wrong these heroes of science, such as Newton, Einstein, and their ilk. Yet, and the news stories are made about it. The peer reviews are done about it. But you know, even the revelations that come about in, say, for example, quantum physics rarely reach the mainstream mindset, or they may take many years and generations to become considered as part of the big picture in working out where we are, and again the physics of this place. And so we are allowed to question, we are allowed to be free, and anyone who tries to oppress or suppress free thought in a quest to try and answer many of the unanswered questions that we are faced with when it comes to trying to work out why we're here and how we are here, then, you know, if you're going to ridicule without reason, then you are a slave. And progress will never be made, whether it's personal, individual progress to reach an understanding of the whole point of it all, your own individual raison d'être, or an objective reason for this. If you remain in that state of ridicule, then you are oppressed, you are a slave, you are not free, you are a follower, you are a sheep, you are cattle. And are any of us any closer to having any real answers, no matter how out of the box we might think? Not really. We still end up being even if we discover that certain things work in a certain way, gravity, pressure, whatever, we are still no closer to the burning question of creation, the how, the where, the why, the when. These will always remain a mystery. But of course, we'll always have people telling us stories, passing them off as science. And we will always believe a lot, yet know very little. And there will always be those who claim to know a lot, and all they are doing is perpetuating belief and stories, creation stories. So, I shall remain free, and I shall remain thinking about all the things we are allowed to think about when we find ourselves in these bodies on this plane with a mind that we can choose whether the mind will be enslaved or whether it will be free. Thank you very much.